Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, I'm actually not joking, guys. I'm actually not joking. Shamrock better than Duchess Lilitu. Actually, I'm having so much fun being able to actually legitimately make this video because it's such a stark contrast, right? You know, whenever people are pulling shards or making their most wanted champion lists, Duchess Lilitu is always like bang at the top of those lists of most wanted champions, most OP champions. When you see someone pull Duchess, you go crazy. But Shamrock? When you see people pull Shamrock, I've seen the comments. I've seen you leave the comments. People say, straight in the vault, Shamrock sucks. Ugh. Like, when have you ever seen someone say, you know, am I most wanted champions? Or like, yeah, Trunda and Shamrock. You just don't see it, but here we are. Here we are. So let me talk you through and let me show you what's going on. And one of the big things I want to really dive into in today's video is this idea of trying to think outside the box and use at least some non-meta champions to mix it up and to fill in the roles of your team that you might be missing. And for example, one thing we will touch on, because I know it's gonna come up as well, is people go, well, look at your team. I don't have a Krisk. I don't have a Krisk. You're doing it because of Krisk. Obviously, yeah, this team works because of Krisk, but let me show you a team as well. Another team, in fact, with Shamrock that does one key Nightmare Hydra. This is Nightmare Hydra, by the way, with no Krisk. I'll show you that as well. You doubter in the audience, I'll show you. We will. Right, so let's dive in. Let's talk about it. And now, we're going to jump in. I will spoil the result of this as we go, and I'll put up the full footage as well on YouTube. It took me 2 runs. The first run, we died at 21 million because I wasn't paying attention. And I think Krisk got the thing where, from Suffering, where it duplicates the damage across. Really unlucky at 3% non-resist, you know? And I wasn't paying attention, and I one-shot Krisk with Royal Guard. Slam. But yeah, let's dive in here. So spoiler for the damage that we actually do, right? Let's jump into Hydra Nightmare. So in the end, this team with Shamrock, we did 66.15 million damage. You can see the breakdown right here. Royal Guard, Husk, Geomancer doing all the damage. Shamrock himself contributing a whopping almost 300,000. Thanks, Shamrock, for that. But what is he doing that is so strong? And this is where I often start with building my teams. Is looking at my clan, and then you can also jump in and check out the boss guide and teams of the week. I find this is one of the most helpful things. There's in fact another Shamrock team right there. One of the most helpful things that you can do to really start to puzzle out, okay, what style of team are people using, and then figure out replacement. So for example, in my clan right here, Chunk, this is like your sort of stereotypical team. In fact, you can see we're using the exact same team, albeit swapping that Duchess for Shamrock. Now, he actually beat us. We'll come back to Face in a second here. Richard Whiskey here, 55 million, almost 56 million. Quite a different team. Couple of Void Legos in there. Really nice team as well. It'd be fun to see actually what would happen with the Cupidus in there. I'd be curious to see what Cupidus could do with that Venus combo and Nightmare. We had Arch August, 51 million, with again that same team comp, right? The same team comp up here, and again, it's the same as mine, albeit Duchess swapped for Shamrock. We've got that combo. Cheap Suits, he's got that same combo, again, with that Duchess spot in there. 2 key, 3 key. We're just looking at the 1 keys. We've got a funky 1 key here with like Sifi, and again 2 Hanorok, and then another 1 key here with again that same comp. So like I came in today, this afternoon, and I was looking at, okay, what are my clan using? So I actually forgot to do Hydra last week. I ran out of time. I tried to do it with my old team, and my old team from rotation 1 and 2 that could 1 key Nightmare no problem wasn't working. They did not have enough healing. They only had Godseeker and Neri to heal. She wasn't doing enough. So I didn't have time last week to fix it. This week I came in, I sat down, I look at my teammates' squads here, and I say, okay, well, I have these champions, but I don't have a Duchess. And this is a very common team. How can I switch it up? Who can I put in instead? Then I looked at Face's team. He's actually running Shamrock with a Duchess. No Krisk for him. He has Skull Lord Vargal. You can see his damage output right here. So he has given up 1 damage dealer to bring this in. But nonetheless, he's getting 56.26 million. I think he was saying it's a very stable team. Very easy to run as well. Skull Lord Vargal giving you the decreased attack and doing the mischief tanking that Krisk does. As well as an easy provoke for Head of Decay. Really zero stress. So I came in, I said, okay, I forgot about Shamrock, and I actually mentioned this to Face after, and I found it very funny. I was like, dude, I'd forgotten about Shamrock somehow, and I saw you use Shamrock, so I busted him out as well. And he turned around and said, oh, well, I used him because I saw your video on Shamrock from before. I was like, oh, man, well, there you go. You know, helping me, helping you, helping me, helping you. It's all coming together in a big way. So how does this team work? Let's jump in right now. In fact, let's go... yeah, no, this is actually a perfect part to jump in because we're going to see the Head of Torment will spawn in. In fact, we get Head of Torment spawning in back-to-back 2 times. So you can see we're killing off these first heads with about, 14 million damage, which is maybe a little low for your first head kills on Nightmare. Normally looking about 15 million. But yeah, we're coming in here. Now we've got the Head of Torment. So this is where this team definitely gets spicy. And let's talk about it. Shamrock versus Duchess. What does Duchess bring you? She's going to bring you a lot of damage reduction. Perfect Veil reduces your damage taken. Her passive reduces your damage taken. So you got that damage reduction, that survivability. All right. She's going to bring you block debuffs, increase attack as well. Now, increase attack is actually not important at all for Nightmare Hydra. On normal and on hard Hydra, it becomes very important because you're going to be bringing in nukers that are going to scale off of attack. They obviously want to increase attack. For Nightmare, it's just not really valuable. We're bringing in a bunch of max HP nukers. They don't need to increase attack. So we're not losing out on that from Duchess. Now, the block debuffs we are losing out on. We're going to be taking a lot more damage from poisons. We're going to have this weaken on us that we're not going to be able to resist or block. And we can get provoked as well. So that's going to definitely lower our survivability, up our damage taken quite a bit, especially from the poisons if we don't get decreased accuracy out. And yeah, that's for the main thing right there. Funny thing with Duchess, you really do need a mischief tank like Krisk or like, what's his name? We just talked about him, Skull Lord Fargal. You do need a mischief tank in there because there's 3 buffs, I would say, that, well, there's more than that. There's a few buffs that you really can't have stolen. Block debuffs is absolutely one of them. If Head of Mischief successfully steals block debuffs and spreads it among the heads, GG, your run is just a miserable run. No fun at all. Other ones, counterattack, block damage. What else is super nasty? There's a few crit rate up, which we actually do have with Shamrock. That's really nasty if that gets stolen. I think we did get it stolen once or twice in these runs. We were fine, though. Yeah, it can be a bit sketchy, but there you are. So you can see us getting through here. We definitely need some thoughtfulness to play around this. The biggest thing with Duchess versus Shamrock, I think, actually, is that perfect veil. So we don't have any way to stop these true fears. We're just going to get true feared. But I think the really fun thing about this is we can simply play around it. You do need to play it on manual, obviously, but you just, you try to target your single target abilities and try not to use... try not to use like your big AoEs if you got True Fear. So for example, with Royal Guard or with Husk, we're not going to use their big AoE max HP nukes if they've got True Fear on. We'll throw a single target attack towards another head, and then we'll go do the AoE the next turn. We're also going to be very reliant on Ugo to cleanse our debuffs and to remove that True Fear. As you can see with Geomancer, you kind of just have to roll the dice, right? Geomancer has an AoE A1, so you can't stop him. He's going to be feared all the time, so you just have to roll the dice and hope that you're lucky, and that's basically it. But I will say that Shamrock, and Krisk does help this a ton. So one of the problems, of course, is going to be that Head of Wrath can just come in and kill you, and if you miss turns because of True Fear, that can really mess you up. Well, the great thing about Krisk passive is Krisk passive is going to put decreased attack on the Head of Wrath for you, so you don't need to worry about missing your turns. You can miss your turns, he's going to land a decreased attack just fine, which is going to help you a ton. And then with Shamrock, because he really barely ever attacks at all, he doesn't get True Feared much either, if ever. So he will always be there to give you his abilities, which are going to help you stay alive massively. So there you go. I think you actually saw some nice gameplay here. Well, actually, let's just go until we break this guy out so you can see it. But you can see the work that they are doing. Hopefully it gives you a good insight. Again, the full video here, in fact, including the failed run, will go up for members of the channel to watch. Let's look at Shamrock and exactly what he does and why he's so good. And let me talk to you as well then about Nekmo Thar, who's the guaranteed champion on right now, and then Lady Kimmy, because they each do a very, very distinctive thing that make them play actually very differently. And it's really important to understand why and what they do. So with Shamrock, what you got to look at is the booked cooldowns here. 3-turn cooldown Lucky Charms and a 4-turn cooldown Uncatchable. And this is one of the very defining things, right? So Lucky Charms is increased defense, Increased speed if you're above 50% HP. If they're below 50% HP, it's increased defense, revive on death. It has a good chance to give you crit rate if you're high health, or continuous heal if you're low health. This is actually an amazing move. This is like an S tier move for Hydra. It's so good. Increased defense. Again, we talked about him in comparison to Duchess. This is going to help you stay alive. We're not going to have the Duchess damage reduction from her passive, but we will have increased defense. Then he's going to provide us with a consistent increased speed. And the nice thing about this is this will affect Krisk. Krisk himself, of course, Krisk himself puts increased speed on everyone else in the team whenever he does his provoke move. But sometimes you got to delay that to provoke at the right time. So you're not going to be super consistent on increased speed. And actually one of the big things I have found with Krisk as well, since the Hydra nerf, where we actually really do start using that provoke move all the time on Head of Decay, there's a big difference. He does his A1 a lot less, and his A1 is what places decreased speed. It's only a 50% chance, though. So Krisk, I think, now that he's provoking every 3 turns, usually, Krisk is actually a lot less consistent now in terms of placing decreased speed. That's another thing to note, which is kind of why I'm liking Nekmo, Shamrock, Kimmy, those sorts of champs coming in. I really like Royal Guard with accuracy now with Krisk, actually. Really like that. Because, again, Royal Guard supplements that decreased speed. But anyway, back to Shamrock. Great move, right? It's giving you that increased speed, keeping you ahead of the game, and keeping you alive at increased defense. And then when you go low on life, that revive on death can be really clutch. We're running a team with no reviver. We've got no reviver. And yeah, I think Ugo did die a couple of times, and she got saved by revive on death. So it does matter. And that continuous heal, again, really matters. It adds up to a lot of healing. Again, that's going to be healing Ugo a good chunk. It's going to be healing Krisk, actually, a good chunk as well. Krisk can extend that continuous heal too. So it's just a great combo right there, you know? This decreased speed, nice thing about this decreased speed, it can give you a little bit of a turn meter boost as well. It's not an attack, so it doesn't weak hit. That's definitely a plus for Shamrock, but it's just a consistent decreased speed. And again, I was liking him a ton in this composition because Krisk is not super consistent. Royal Guard is not super consistent. We put the 3 together, though, and decreased speed is up nearly all of the time. On nearly all of these enemies. Like right there, Royal Guard comes in and lands at decreased speed. So that's sort of the concept right there. Now, when we go to Lady Kimmy, actually, no, I need to mention the other big thing about Shamrock, which is huge, and why he's in the lead for me. 70 accuracy in all battles. This is a big deal. Really big deal, especially for Husk and for Royal Guard and Geomancer even. You know, for the damage dealers that might be very stat intensive to make them survivable enough and to hit hard enough, getting them with that good accuracy, the provokes on Husk, the decreased speed on Royal Guard, it's a big deal, and Shamrock makes you able to do that, especially for Nightmare where the accuracy starts to get big. Now, Lady Kimmy, in comparison, check this out. In comparison, what's the big difference here? 3 turn cooldown Flurry of Petals, 4 turn cooldown Spirit Flux, but it's the inverse of Shamrock. So her 3 turn cooldown is her decreased speed move. Her 4 turn cooldown is her increased speed move. And that is a really, really defining difference between these champions. Because typically speaking, what you want to do is always use the 3 turn cooldown move first on priority 1. That's what we do with Shamrock, by the way. Shamrock's AI doesn't work that way. You have to force him or play it manually, right? But that's what you want to do, because if you use the 4 turn, then the 3 turn, they both come off cooldown at the same time. So you're consistently wasting cooldowns on your 3 turn move. It's more effective to occasionally waste the 4 turn. You're just going to get more of your big skills out and fewer A1s doing it this way and be more consistent. That's generally what I advise, right? So she's the inverse. Shamrock is consistently giving you increased speed, and then he's quite often, but not as often, doing decreased speed. Kimmy is the flip side. Very often keeping up decreased speed, but not as good at keeping up increased speed on your team. You will often see Kimmy run with a Sifi, for example. Now, you wouldn't do that really with Shamrock, because Sifi gives you increased defense, increased speed. That works really well with Kimmy, who doesn't have full coverage of increased speed, no increased defense. Wouldn't work so well with Shamrock because he does the opposite. You see what I mean? So it's about thinking about these specific differences in these champions and where they mix in, right? Where they mix in. Now, she doesn't bring the survivability boosting that Shamrock does, but she does bring you potential block buffs. Mostly she brings increased accuracy, which is a nice alternative to Shamrock's aura, and she brings decreased accuracy, which is actually super useful. Other thing to note, her decreased speed is an attack, so she can weak hit, of course. But yeah, that decreased accuracy is huge, especially good on rotations where Geomancer can't land decrease accuracy himself. He does give you decrease accuracy too, but getting that on like the Head of Blight, the Poison Head, and Head of Mischief, who's trying to steal your buffs, decrease accuracy on them, very, very helpful. But Kimmy's a great option as well. And then if we look, the other comparison here, Nekmo Thar, guys. Nekmo Thar, currently boosted right now. What does he do? Well, his unique variance is that he has the 4-turn cooldown increase speed, 3-turn cooldown decrease speed, but he has an extra turn attached to this increased speed. So what he actually does is he does both moves on the same turn on a 3-turn cooldown, right? That's what he does that's special. Increase speed turn meter, and then AoE attack with decreased speed leech. He does both of those on the same turn every 3 turns. And then he has AoE decrease attack. He also has a speed aura. So Nekmo Thar, he's got quite a bit of, quite different as well. These subtle differences make a big deal. He's going to be the most consistent out of the 3 of them in terms of increase speed, decrease speed, because both are on a 3-turn cooldown. He is the most consistent. He gives you the biggest turn meter fill as well. He brings you the leech and decrease attack to help your team stay alive. The other thing that's really cool about him is that because this is an extra turn mechanic, he's doing basically an AoE attack every single turn, right? Every single turn he's AoEing. So he's going to be extremely good in a taunting set. That's actually how I'm building mine up right now. I can show you. And I'll show you the Shamrock build as well. But Nekmo Thar, that's sort of the intriguing difference with him. So I'd say Nekmo Thar doesn't combo as well with the Krisk, for example. He's not as good with Krisk. He's actually the best alternative to Krisk out of these 3 champions, right? Because he's bringing you decrease attack. That's sort of the big deal. The decrease attack, that's something Krisk already brings. Increased speed is something Krisk already brings. Decrease speed, that's something Krisk brings. Nekmo Thar comes in and can fill in all those slots for you. Yeah, he just, he's very consistent at these. So, yeah, you probably would separate him from Krisk, but he really opens up a second team. Or if you don't have Krisk, a really good alternative. But yeah, taunting set I think is the way to go because he's AoEing constantly. Give him a 30% chance to provoke as well, doing that Krisk job of provoking the Head of Decay. And he gives himself tons of turn meter as well, right? Tons and tons of turn meter. So he's going to really be spamming these AoEs. I think he's a prime candidate for taunting set. With Shamrock, what we do at Shamrock instead? With Shamrock, we're going to be throwing him in. Where is Shamrock? Is he in the vault? Get out of the vault, Shamrock. What are you like? What are you like? Here was me telling you at the top of the video that Shamrock's not in the vault, and there he is in the vault. Can't believe it. What is this joker at? I have him in Guardian set, which I think is quite nice, just to boost the survivability effects that he has. I think it's quite good synergy with his A3, where, okay, when your team drops low on life, it gives them a chance for that continuous heal to tick up because, the Guardian set gives you a bit of extra protection. I just think it's quite good. It also works well with him being in the lead spot of the team. He's not going to benefit as much from the decreased attack of Krisk. Not really a big deal. He's very tanky anyway. But yeah, with my Shamrock, I've got him built with good speed, decent resistance and accuracy, and like that. He's not even in that crazy gear, to be honest, because I hadn't used him before in Nightmare, but he's just fantastic. And then I have him with some accuracy and some stuff like this, not even that big of a deal. I could probably improve his masteries if I took a deeper look at it, but I was really impressed with him. Blood Shield Ring, so he can do some mischief tanking potentially as well. It's not even glyphed. It's also really bad. 3 rolls in flat HP. You'll love to see it. But yes, there you go, guys. Hopefully that is a very intriguing video, of trying to think outside the box. And yeah, Nightmare, Hydra, Shamrock absolutely coming in clutch. So again, my team, I've got the Krisk, I've got all the epics, but I don't have that Duchess. Boom, Shamrock comes in, does the job. For Face over here, no Krisk. He does have a Duchess, but no Krisk. Boom, Skull Lord Vargal, Shamrock comes in, they do the job. On top of these other top tier champions like Tunisia, Venus, all the rest, it's all coming together in a pretty cool way. And again, there's other alternatives as well. It's not like, oh, you only need these champions. The point of this is to say that you can start to put together a whole bunch of different cool teams. Like take Nekmo Thar, build a team with Nekmo Thar in there, be inspired and try to think outside the box a little bit. And sure, you do need the best champions. You do need really, really good champs to one key Nightmare. There's no doubt about that. It's extremely difficult, yeah, but getting to that point where you could even 2 key Nightmare, you know what I mean? We're doing with a Krisk in here, we're able to push to 66 million. You only need 36.6 million. Well, only need 36.6 million. Okay, and I've been playing the game for almost 2 years at this point, right? So that's where I am, you know? But you could come in and you could 2-key it. Like if I do 66 here, you need 36. What if you do like 18 million per key, or 20 million with your good key, maybe 22 million with your best key? Try scrape up there. And then you do like 14, 16 million with your second key. That's all you need to do, and boom, you are good. Like we got 15 million before we'd even killed the first set of heads. 14 million when those first set of heads died. So you don't even need to worry about Torment or whichever one wasn't in the starting rotation. Don't remember now. You don't need to worry about them. You can get away with it. You can see at this point, this is where the run starts to fall apart. Like we're 160 turns in, you know? So this is where things really start to get bad, where champions are getting eaten kind of too quick for us to deal with it, though. I think we will break this one out. Yeah, we will. But there you are, guys. That was the run. I think a pretty cool run. Let me know what you think. Do you have any spicy picks that you've busted out in Hydra on different difficulties? I mean, like, really OP champions for Hydra that I think don't get enough attention. Like, I've talked about some before, like Bibbled of the Thorn, Mother Cybele. These are absolutely insane champions, and I see people really sleep on them. Shamrock, he's one of those champs, guys. Nekmo Thar is going to be one of those champs as well. Champs with just amazing potential. Oh, Head of Torment takes us down. Boom. Kills 2 champions in one go. There we are. Thanks for watching. Team Shamrock. Let's go. Irish pride. Let's go. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.